Hi, everyone. Good morning or good afternoon, wherever you are at right now. And thank you for joining us today. Today, we have Dan Griffin leading our session. He's one of our senior applications instructors, and he is phenomenal with Teams. So I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to him so we can get started.
Perfect. Thanks, Shannon. Good morning, everybody. Happy Teams Thursday, right? It is Thursday. I don't know, I've been traveling this week, and yesterday I said Happy Tuesday because I really wasn't fully aware of what day it was. Anyways, welcome to our Teams webinar, guys. My name is Dan, like Shannon said. We are going to be talking about Teams today. I'll also be introducing you to some of the really cool concepts that we have in Teams. And as a matter of fact, there are some new features that just popped up this morning in Teams. So Teams is constantly evolving, which is great. So let me resume my screen share here, and you all should be able to see my screen. If you do have questions as we go through the training, feel free to type them in the chat box. I'd be more than happy to answer them as they come up so we can interact with each other in our class today. All right, everybody, so what is Teams? Let's start with that. I have a whole slideshow for you guys. Get excited. So, Teams. Before we even talk about what Teams is or what it's for, let's talk about how we've communicated in the office world up to this point. So in the dawn of the digital age, when we first started using computers in an office environment and we first had web access, the first feature of the web that we started using was email. And email is something obviously we still use to this day. And at the time, I mean, it was absolutely amazing. You could type a message on your computer, and with the click of a button, you can send it to one person or a group of people, and they would be able to see it. Okay, so instead of having papers. Is audio still off? No, audio should be on. Why don't we try this out, guys? I can tell that my audio is active, but maybe you're not hearing me. So just to double check, if you take a look at the bottom of your window, you should see a couple buttons for interacting with the class, like a thumbs up button, thumbs down button, applause button, all this other stuff. I can hear everybody jamming the button right now. Yeah, hit any of those buttons if you can hear me, just so I can make sure that you're all on the same page with me. Excellent. I'll also have you hit those occasionally throughout the class just to make sure that you're following along with me, okay? Those are like a toggle switch, so if you do click them one time, they are on. If you click them again, it switches them back off, just so y'all know, okay? All right, so email. Email is something we do all the time. You've probably already done it a bunch of times this morning. There are some drawbacks to email, which you can think of them right now. The big drawbacks to email are, the biggest one is I have no control over when the person is going to respond to me. I mean, that's really the biggest one. I don't really know if and when it gets to them. I have no control over when they're going to see it, and I definitely have no control over when they're going to respond to me. So email does take a little bit of time sometimes to get the message through. Another thing we discovered early on is that we had a need to share the files that we're working on from our computer with other people. We didn't really have a practical way of doing that, so we figured out a way to maximize the email's allowed space to allow for a file to be attached to it. So email was never intended for files to be attached to it. We just, kind of manipulated the system to let us do that. When we send a file through email, which still happens today, it's happening right now somewhere on the planet. Somebody is attaching a file to an email. But the big problems that we run into with that is when I attach a file to an email and I send it out, I'm not giving the people access to my file. I am giving them their own copy of the file, which means if me and all these people are working together on a project and I send them a file through email, now they each have their own copy of the file. And throughout the day, they're going to be working on their own copy. And by the end of the day, by the end of the week, nobody knows which one's the right version anymore. We've got all these different files out there. They're taking up space on everybody's computers. So that was definitely a problem right away as well. We needed a solution for that. So the solution was some sort of cloud storage. Okay, now cloud storage is where we're at today. There was like a stopgap in between called network drives or network file storage or share or whatever you want to call it. Some companies call it like J drive or F drive or whatever. Those are network drives. Those really aren't much better than just storing it on your computer. The problem with network drives is, number one, you needed to be in the network. So if you wanted to get to the files, you had to be in the network, so in the building, or you had to do some VPNing in, so it was like you were at the building. Another thing is, since those really are just hard drives on a network, there's no protections built in, meaning that if I put a file on a network hard drive, potentially anybody could get to it, and if somebody moves it or changes the file, that's a permanent adjustment. I can't really undo that. So that's a reason why we needed a better solution. And at this point, for file storage and sharing, we use some sort of cloud tool. So from Microsoft, your personal cloud is your OneDrive. So you can store your files in your OneDrive and give access to a handful of people from your OneDrive if you want to for sharing. The sharing one would be SharePoint. So if you've worked with SharePoint before, that's more for a larger audience. If I put a file on SharePoint, that's then accessible by anybody who has access to that SharePoint. So the beauty of the cloud is that I can put my file into the cloud. It's one file in the cloud, and then I can get a link back. And yes, that's an ice cream cone because the links are sweet. I can then put the link in an email and send the link to everybody. And now they have access to my one file that is in the OneDrive or SharePoint that's in the cloud. So that's a huge step forward. And only recently have more and more organizations started to adopt the cloud. Within the last 3 years, we've really seen a big jump in cloud usage because it really just makes the most sense for sure. Now, with these two models working together, these two applications working together, I've got email so I can communicate with people if I need to. I've got OneDrive for file access and sharing and SharePoint for the same thing. But I'm still not able to communicate very quickly other than calling somebody on the phone, which nobody ever wants to do. So we needed a faster way to communicate, especially inter-office communication. So the solution to that is some sort of instant messaging tool. The instant messaging tool is Skype for Business. So up until, I don't know, like I said, about 3 years ago, more realistically, up until last year, even right now, the majority of the organizations that are out there are using their Office 365 tools, which is comprised of OneDrive, Outlook, and Skype for instant messaging, okay? So we've got these three tools that each have their own job and they do their own specific job really, really well. Okay, flash forward to today. If we have those three tools that do their job really well and they work just fine, then what's the point of Teams? Why does Microsoft keep coming up with new stuff for us to learn all the time? So while it's great that we do have these three applications and we can access them throughout the day and they work just fine, the problem is that we have three different applications. So we have to switch over to our Outlook to view our calendar. If I want to get to a file, I've got to open up a web browser and get to my OneDrive or view my synced files. Or I've got to open up Skype for Business if I want to instant message somebody. So that's really the point of Teams. Teams is designed as a one-screen solution. It brings elements of these other applications into one screen for easy access. So instead of having 12 different windows open just to do specific tasks, I can manage it all through Teams. All right, everybody, so that's the point of Teams. Teams is fantastic. Teams is the way that everything is going. Microsoft is investing heavily in it, and they're updating it constantly. So like I just mentioned, there was an update within the last couple days here. Like I said, I was traveling. I didn't have much time to use Teams, but they have definitely added in one of the features that has been asked for a long time. So another big part about Teams is that Microsoft is actively taking feedback, and they are putting it into Teams. So there are updates at least twice a month, if not more than that. And I'll show you how you can view those once we're in Teams. So in Teams, or how to get to Teams, there's three ways, basically, that you can get to it. The first way is through your traditional Office.com. So I can open up any web browser. When I open up any web browser, I'm already in Teams here, so I'll just close out of all this stuff. You just go to Office.com, if you didn't know. So if you have Office 365, you can go to Office.com, and I'm already signed in. If you're at work, it should sign you right in, just like this did. If you're at another computer, you may have to put in your email address and password. But now I'm logged in. And guys, this is not like some trial training environment I made for you today. This is my actual work account. So I'm going to be in here today just showing you real world. I'm in here using Teams and how I use Teams. So I'm in my company's Office 365, and here are all my apps. So, if you're familiar with Office 365, you've got your standard Office apps here and your OneDrive. If you have SharePoint, SharePoint's right there. And then I have an app for Teams. When I click on a Teams, it'll launch the Teams app here. And while we're waiting for it to launch, I'll mention the other ways. So you can obviously get through it through Office.com. That's way number one. There is a desktop app, which this little icon down here in the corner, if I hover over it, it says download desktop app. Most organizations just download and install it for you. However, if you need to on another computer, you can click to download it at any time. Okay, cool. Sometimes it'll even prompt you when you try to access Teams through Office 365 through Office.com, it sometimes gives you a splash screen or a screen before that says, do you want to just download the desktop app or do you want to continue with the web app? In any event, I'm in it. The cool thing is it looks the same whether you're accessing it in Office.com or you're using the desktop app or you're using the mobile app. So that's the three ways that you can access Teams: desktop, web browser, or the mobile app. And I use the mobile app all the time. I travel all the time. I'm working at different organizations all the time and helping them with their software rollouts. So just being able to access my company's Teams environment from here is awesome. Now, take a look on the left-hand side. I'm going to break down the screen for you so we can know how to navigate around. On the left-hand side, I have my navigation buttons. So here's all the different parts of Teams that we're going to access. This middle panel, don't worry about what's in here, but this middle panel is your options, and then on the right-hand side is your workspace. So whatever thing I click on here, I'll have the navigation option, so I'll go to Files, the Options, and then the Workspace. Okay? So I just went to Files. It's the first place I'm going to go in the navigation buttons, and I want to show you what's here. Recent files that I've worked on anywhere in Office 365. Okay? Perfect. Microsoft Teams. These are any file that's in any team that I have access to. We'll talk more about that when we talk about Teams files in a minute. But if I belong to 5 teams and I can't remember where a file is that I'm looking for, I can just go to Files, Microsoft Teams files, and I see every file that I have access to. I can then sort by location if I need to and find exactly what I'm looking for. Below that is OneDrive. I am a heavy OneDrive user. I have to. I used to carry around a flash drive. As a matter of fact, I used to carry around an external hard drive. I don't know if any of you ever did that. I feel for you. I'm with you. You had to carry around your flash drive or your hard drive to make sure you had all your files with you. That was such a pain in the butt because if I forgot my hard drive and I had to go to a customer's location and I needed class files, it was very difficult to get that content. I would have to scramble and try to figure out a way to teach my class. So having OneDrive is amazing, and the beauty of it is, yeah, you can obviously go to Office.com and access OneDrive there. You can do it through your File Explorer if you've synced your OneDrive right here, which you can see mine is synced, right? So I can get to that content very easily. But it's just nice that it's already in the Teams window because I'm going to be working with my files primarily and potentially uploading and creating new files in my OneDrive. And you can see the buttons up top here, guys. It's very easy to use. New folder or document, upload a file or an entire folder tree. So not just a folder and some files, a folder and some files with subfolders and files and subfolders and files. It will upload all of it for you. You can still sync to your computer for easy access. Again, if you click that sync button in your OneDrive, it's basically just going to connect your OneDrive to your computer's File Explorer so you can get to your content very quickly. Okay, and then copy links for sharing, and you can open in the full OneDrive app, which is the Office.com OneDrive app. Okay, cool. So I've got all my files here. I can go to any of these files. Once I go into one of these folders, I can see all my files here. If I select a file, you'll see that my options change at the top. So I selected a Word document. I have the ability to open in Word Online, Word the desktop, and I can even edit right here in Teams, which we'll see in a minute. Copy a link for sharing, download, delete, rename, open in OneDrive, or move and copy it to a different location. Now, I get asked a lot of times about like workflows. How do I use OneDrive, and how do I use the team file storage, and how do I use SharePoint? How do these things all work together? I will show you how to do that in the training today, okay, just so y'all know. Right up above files is calls. So this would be, in a lot of cases, computer to computer calling. And look at, these are all the people I work with. Shannon doesn't want to put a picture in there for whatever reason. Nobody even knows what she looks like. I'm just kidding. We've seen each other. We've met. But you can see I can call anybody in my organization from here. Now, I don't have a traditional phone system hooked up to my teams, but some of our sales representatives and some of the upper management have it where they can actually dial any phone number on the planet right from their teams. I usually just do the computer-to-computer calling because it's usually just me checking in and talking to people in my organization. But you can see here, you can have speed dial contacts or a regular contact list. You've got your call history, so calls in and out, outgoing, in missed calls, call duration, and even voicemail, which nobody leaves me voicemails because nobody calls me. You get the idea. All right, so that's calling. Right above calling is calendar, and this is your Outlook calendar. and I use my Outlook calendar all the time. So I had a meeting on Monday. I traveled on Tuesday to New York. I just got back last night. Right now is our webinar. My cat is sick, so I've got to concerned about her blood pressure. I've got to get it checked. So there's that. That's my calendar. If you look at the top, though, you can obviously pick what you want to do here. It doesn't show you the month view like we get in Outlook. And the reason behind that is because Outlook isn't going away. Outlook is still there. Really, what Teams is designed for is quick and effective actions, working efficiently without having to spend too much time thinking. That's what Teams is for, okay? So it doesn't show me the whole month because that's not really what Teams is for. You know, if I'm thinking about 3 weeks ahead, well, then I'll go to my Outlook calendar and then I can look. Right now, if I'm working in Teams and I need answers quick about the week, that's where I get this information. You can switch to different days up here if you need to. So I'm just browsing through the days. You can also click this and jump to specific dates if you need to. Again, you can see I'm traveling again, tons of stuff on my calendar here. But you get the idea. It's really cool that that's built right in. Now, if you take a look here, there is a button for Meet Now, which will create an ad hoc meeting, and there's the button to schedule a meeting. We'll talk more about that in a little bit. Right up above Calendar is Teams, and this is obviously where you're going to spend a lot of time in Teams. We'll come right back to this. Right above Teams is Chat, and Chat is your private conversations. So Lauren is one of my operations managers, and she talks to me about a lot of different things, and you know, this is us going over class durations and schedules and things like that. Okay, so this is chat. If you notice, I have a recent chat log here, and it does go back to 10/10 here, so it does show you for about a month, but then things will eventually start to fall off here. I do have some group conversations where I've talked to many people. If you have a question, just fire away. I'd be happy to answer it as it comes up, John. So that's recent. You do have a contact list here. So you can see I've added all the members of operations here, so I can quickly dial them if I need to. I've got the president of the company under favorites, just in case she's watching this. Jennifer, you're my favorite. Other contacts down below here you can see, right? So really you can have contacts exist in multiple groups if it makes sense, and however else you want to manage it. Let me take a quick peek. Are you able to remove recent conversations to clean up the left side? Yes, you can. So I don't have these options, chats, calls, etc. Brad, I'm not sure why you don't have that. I would reach out to your organization. Maybe they have disabled certain features of Teams. I've worked with plenty of organizations that don't have calls or calendar in there for whatever reason, or they're using Skype still for chat, so they disabled chat. So you'd have to look into that with your organization. How do we add Teams users from other companies like we used to be able to in Skype for Business? That's an excellent question. To add somebody as a chat contact, I'll show you how to do that, or as another contact. And I'll also show you how to remove recent. So recent conversations will eventually fall off. The newer ones will always go to the top. So you can see Shannon and I talked at 10:34 this morning. Haley messaged me right before the class started. Lauren and I talked on 11:05, and you can see it kind of goes down from there. If you hover over and right click, you'll see you have the ability to mark as read or unread. If it's unread, basically the text just shows bold, so it knows that there's a chat you missed. You also do get notifications. I mean, you'll get notifications in the corner when somebody chats with you. If I want to keep Lauren and my conversation at the top, I can pin it, and that way it will not eventually fall off unless I unpin it. I can add to my contact list from here, mute the conversation so I no longer get active notifications about it. You can hide the conversation, so that's all you need to do. Notify me when available is the same thing as Skype for Business about the status change when they change their present setting. Like if she was in Do Not Disturb and I wanted to know when she was available, I could say notify when available. But I'll just click hide. When I click hide, you'll see it just hides the conversation. Okay, easy. If I want to get back to chatting with her, how do I do that? Well, let me show you. There's like 10 different ways to do this. I'll show you the easiest way. You can always just search for somebody at the top. That's a really quick, easy way. So there's a search box at the top. I'll type Lauren. You can see it's already found Lauren right here, so I can click on it. I'm going to do a full search, though. I'm going to say search for Lauren. When I do that, it will find any messages that have the word Lauren in it, like hi, Lauren, or any message from Lauren. Pretty cool. People is anybody in the organization that have the name Lauren. Okay, so there we go. And then files. Any files that have the word Lauren in the file name, have Lauren in the file, were created by Lauren, and so on. And you can see there's an additional filter button here, so you can narrow down and find exactly what you're looking for. So if I'm looking for Excel files, let's see what happens. Maybe there's no Excel files. There were. It just took a second. I just got excited. Let's do that one more time. There we go. Okay, cool. All right, so anyways, I found Lauren. I want to talk to Lauren. So I click. Once I click, you'll see it takes us right back to our conversation. So this is one thing I really, really like over Skype for Business. Skype for Business did have a conversation history, but nobody ever used it. What I mean by that is nobody ever like restarted a conversation they had the day before. Everybody just starts new conversations all the time. So I like in Teams that it's a persistent conversation. So I can scroll back as far as I need to, and I can review anything we've talked about in the past. So, all right, check this out. I know I'm kind of going up here quite a bit. I'm going to say jump on a call. So that's what I'm going to search for. I'm just going to highlight it. Okay, once I copy that, I'm going to go back down to the current chat. So you can see that was from a long time ago. And now I'm going to do a new search. So I'm going to click in the search box, clear out Lauren, and I'll paste that in there. And once I do a search, there's no people named jump on a call. Let's see if there's any files. So there might be some files that have the word jump on a or call somewhere in it. So that's what's popping up. And when I go to messages, there's the message. So you can see if you remember any part of a message, it can find it for you very quickly by typing at the top. All right, let me take a peek back at the questions. I think there was one more I missed here. How do we add users from other companies like we used to be able to in Skype for Business? Pretty easy. You just hit the chat button up here. As soon as you hit the new chat button, you just type the name or email address of the person you'd like to message, and then you can hit enter to start talking to them, provided they have Teams. If they don't have Teams, it may just send them an email with your chat. Okay. So there should be federation. You should be able to communicate with other people outside of your organization, unless your organization has somehow locked that down. Okay, which again, I can't really tell you whether or not that's working for you. You'd have to just try it out. All right, everybody. So that's communicating through Teams, through private chat. There is a little bit more here I want to show you. So I'm actually going to message Shannon here. You can see it's a persistent conversation about what we talked about. Hello, Shannon. Okay. And she'll message me back. Cool, I want to bring somebody in. So at the top, you can see I've got a video call, audio call, and add people. I'm going to add in Ozzy now. And once I click add, watch what happens. It actually starts a new conversation with Ozzy, Shannon, and I. And actually, I can see Ozzy's away. But I'm going to go ahead and say hello. And then Shannon will get a notification and she can start communicating. Now, this is cool. So my private chat with Shannon is still private. Ozzy is not able to see anything that Shannon and I have already talked about because that's Shannon and my private conversation. So if you have a one-on-one conversation and you click add, it's basically going to start a brand new conversation thread as a group conversation. Now, this is what's really cool. And this kind of shows you how Teams adapts to what you're doing. You don't have to think so much to get things done. It just kind of does it for you. What if I want to add somebody else in here? Well, I'm going to go ahead and hit the plus button and watch how it's different this time. When I hit the plus button, since it's now a group conversation, it's not a private conversation, it'll actually ask me, if you don't want to include chat history, I can include chat history for one day. I can include all chat history if I wanted to when I add the new person. So that's kind of cool. You only see that option when you already have a group conversation of 2 or more people. Okay? If it's a one-on-one conversation, you will not see this option until you create a group conversation. I think that's kind of neat, and it kind of shows you how, again, Teams adapts to what you're doing. Now, conversations down here, let's talk about the conversation controls. Down at the bottom, you can see I've got the ability to format my text. You guys know what this stuff is, right? Bold, italic, underlined, highlighter color, font size, styling, and so on. The next button over, and let me put something in here. This is important. Okay, if you're one of those people that marks all of your emails as high importance, I've got great news for you. In Teams, you can set all of your chat messages to be important. And look at this. This is new. I love that about Teams. There's new stuff that pops up all the time. I have never seen this before. But when I click this little button, it used to just say important and put like a red line on the side. Now when you click it, it says, okay, well, what do you want to do? Do you want to mark it important like we used to be able to? So there's that. And you even have one called urgent. Recipients notified every 2 minutes for 20 minutes. Oh my God, that's amazing. If you want to be totally annoying to everybody in your organization, do this all the time. Okay, I've never seen that before. That is a brand new feature. I'll show you where you can find new features in just a second. All right, that's kind of cool. Actually, I'm not going to do that because I know Ozzy's away, so he's going to just keep getting all these notifications. But I will do this one as important. The next button over is the paperclip. And if I click the paperclip, I can use or reference a file from my own OneDrive or upload a file from my computer. And here's what this means, guys. If you look in our chat, there is file storage right here. Okay? So that means that I can add a file to our chat, and then Shannon, Ozzy, and I will be able to work on that file together and chat about it. Let's do that. We'll click the button. So I can obviously share one from my OneDrive. So if you click this, you are basically creating shared access from your OneDrive. You are sharing a file with these people through your OneDrive. So the file will never exist in the conversation because it's not conversation is just a chat record. The file will always exist in your OneDrive when you're adding it to chat. Okay? So I can share from my OneDrive directly, or I can upload from my computer. Now, if I upload from my computer, you see it kind of puts the file there, puts like a link to it. It's letting me know when it's uploaded. Okay, so now it's ready to go. All right, and I'll go ahead and send this now. And as soon as I hit send, everybody will be able to click on this to be able to access it. Okay, if we go to the File tab now, they'll see the file here as well. But where is this file? This file is not in the conversation. This is technically just a link to the file. This file ended up in my OneDrive. So if you're in a chat and you click the paperclip and you say upload, it's going to your OneDrive. And I'll show you where it goes, okay? So I'm going to go to Files here. Oh, and Shannon just liked my message there. That's awesome. When I go to Files, I go to OneDrive. And when you go to OneDrive, there's a folder in your OneDrive called Microsoft Teams Chat Files. If I click on that, that is where that file is that I just shared, okay? So essentially, it's being all managed through your OneDrive, and it's created a share link out from your OneDrive. Okay, cool. Pretty cool stuff, right? Again, it's doing it all automatically. You don't have to think about this stuff. You just act or interact and it does it for you. But it is good to know the background, and have a little bit more of a heads up about what's going on. All right, let's talk about the other things we have here. Shannon, this is on you if you want. I need you to give me the best emoji GIF meme combo you can come up with. So guys, while she's doing that, I'll go ahead and make my own here. We do have an emoji button, so I can express myself. Here's a little party hat. They're all animated, by the way. GIF is reaction GIFs or GIFs. Call it what you will. So let's go ahead and search for something. Whatever expression I'm trying to say. Maybe I'm trying to say cool, not coal, cool. There we go. All sorts of different cool reactions. Let's go with this little dude. Bobbing his head, thumbs up. Yep, that's pretty classic. All right, next button over is the sticker button or meme button. And you see I can click on a meme right there. You can use any of these guys, just so you know. But when you get in here, you can select one. And if you're using memes, you can actually type your own captions. If you could like my post. Oh, cool, she just posted hers. That would be great. All right, cool. Now to send that, I can click the little paper airplane over here in the corner to send that off. All right, another question came through. Don't see exclamation point in my team's chat conversation. Guys, I'm going to chalk it up to this. If you're not seeing something in here, your organization has turned it off, okay? So some organizations don't use GIFs. Some don't allow memes. Some use GIFs, but they have a rating scale where they only allow PG GIFs. I'm not even joking. There's all sorts of different GIF levels there. So if you're not seeing something, it's most likely because your organization has decided to block that feature for whatever reason. Oh, Ozzy's back. There we go. He's interacting with us too. Okay, cool. Let's see what Shannon did. Yeah, little office. There we go. Dancing penguin. I like it. It's good stuff. Now, while this is fun, it's designed to be fun. I just taught a class yesterday talking about teams, and as usual, there's two different schools of thought on this. One group is so excited about this, they can't wait to have private conversations with the people they work closely with and share these things, which is great. There's the other school of thought, which is, do we really need this in the business world? And the answer is no, you don't, but it's not hurting anything. So people get concerned that is this what the work world is coming to, that type of thing too. You'll see when we get into teams, every team kind of develops its own culture, and some teams do things like this more than others. And a lot of times I do this mostly in our private chats. I don't necessarily do it in teams all the time, because usually, to put it this way, we're about to get into team work here. When I'm working in a team, if Shannon asks me where a file was or for some information, I'm not going to spend 3 minutes crafting the perfect meme to explain it to her. I'm just going to type my reply. Okay. So you'll see how it kind of works. And if you decide you don't want to use them, you don't have to use them. It doesn't hurt anything. Guys, there's one more button at the bottom here. It's schedule a meeting. We're going to talk more about that in a minute, but there's a button for it. I have an additional button because I'm cool. There's a button there called Mail Clark. And then if you click the three dots, there's even more things that you can add in. Praise is kind of fun. Let me go and click onto that. And then you can see I add in the praise tool here where I can pick a sticker or a badge. And I can say this is going to Shannon. Okay, and for winning the meme GIF emoji, where's my J there? Emoji competition. All right, there we go. Preview, looks great, send. Now she's got her little badge. Okay, so it's just, there's fun stuff. You can add weather, you can add news, you can add all sorts of other things that you want to be able to reference quickly and post in chat. Okay, cool. All right, so right up above chat is activity. Anything that you need to get notified about in Teams will pop up here. Let's go to Teams. In Teams, you might belong to many different teams. I'm not really an administrator. I'm helping our company use Teams. So I'm able to add things and help people with any of their teams that we need. So I have access to almost every team in our organization here so that I can work with and help people, okay? So we have our all company team here. There's the sales team, which I'm not really a part of, but I assist them sometimes. Operations, which I work with, especially the content. We just officially rolled out Teams to our organization earlier this year. So we are totally on Teams now. We don't have Skype anymore. We don't use our SharePoint so much anymore because we're doing everything through Teams. I did create a team for our training here, so this one really doesn't have anything in it. But you can see that every team has channels. Channels are their own containers of content. So if you take a look here in the webinar training, I have a general channel. General channel has its own conversations tab and its own file storage. You may see other things added at the top. It really depends on what the team needs to be successful. I have a content creation channel, project 1, project 2, and a team resources channel. And here's what you need to know about channels. Channels should have a very clear defined purpose. So if you go to any of your teams, you should be able to read this and know exactly what these are for. So if you're looking at your channels and you're not really sure what a channel actually is used for, well, it may not apply to you. That could be one thing. The other thing is maybe it's not a good channel. Maybe there's not a reason for the channel. So you want your channels to have a clear purpose. To take this home, just to finish that up, if I have a question about project 1, I'm not going to post it in general because that's not where that goes. If I have something for team resources, I'm not going to load that file in the project 1's file storage, right? So everybody gets that. It's not too hard of a concept to understand. Okay, cool. So I'm going to go ahead and go to project 1 here. And Shannon could be anywhere in Teams right now. I don't really know where she's at. But I'm going to go ahead and type in this box, and I'm going to say something to Shannon. Actually, guys, if you're posting in Teams, whatever you post here is for your entire team. So I'm going to ask my entire team, does anyone have the, and I spell terribly sometimes, I type horribly, the statement of work for this project? Question mark. All right, so I'm going to right click on that and fix that. SOW, it doesn't know what that is. That's okay. We're going to leave it. And then when I'm ready, I'm going to hit send. Notice no emojis or GIFs this time, guys. It's up there. So now, the people who are a member of this team, what does it look like for them? What kind of notification do they get? Shannon, if you're connected to the audio right now, would you mind posting something in the team resources chat while I'm talking or working in project 1? I want people to see what happens. And no mentions, just do like a straight up like, here is my post. You know what I mean? Very generic. So what does it look like when something gets posted to a team that you belong to? How do you get notified about it? This is the thing that people kind of have a hard time with right at the beginning when they start using Teams. So when you start using Teams, there's really nothing that notifies you other than this. Do you see how the team resources channel name just became bold? That is my only indication that there's something new there that I haven't seen. Okay, so I can see there's a couple things I haven't looked at today. So if I go to team resources now and look, I can see what Shannon said, and you notice that the bold turned off. Okay, and when I hover over, just like chat, I can interact with it. So I can like that. That'd be great. Perfect. And then I can reply if I need to. This is another important thing. If you intend to reply, make sure you are hitting the reply button. I know it doesn't look like it would be that confusing right now, but as more and more conversations start to happen, this box at the bottom will start looking like the reply box. It is not. It clearly says start a new conversation. It even says type @ to mention someone. All right, so getting back to what I was talking about. That really wasn't very, it wasn't very present to me that there's something there that I needed to see. So what if I have a question? What if this question I posted is vital to what I'm doing right now? I need an answer right away. If I post like this, only members of my team are going to see bold channels, and they're not necessarily going to look for what the thing is here. So to get people's attention, when you create a post, you would @ mention. So I'm just going to reply to my own post. Although if you hover over your post, click the 3 dots here, you can actually edit your existing posts and delete them if you need to. Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and just reply to my post. And this time I'm going to @ mention Shannon. And you can see as I start to type, I can @ mention Shannon. It does put in their full first name and last name. If you hit backspace one time, it'll clear out their last name because I don't call Shannon Madden. You know what I mean? I just call it Shannon. So there it is. And then I can say, Shannon, do you know? Question mark. Hit enter. Now, since I @ mentioned her, she is going to get notified all over the place. So Shannon, I'm going to switch to general now. If you want to go to the project one and just @ mention me back, so say like @Dan, whatever. I don't have it or I have it or whatever. And you'll see everybody will see what this looks like when you get @ mentioned. There's no mistaking that there's something you need to look at. There you go. Okay? So she @ mentioned me. I get a notification now. The project channel is bold, but it also has a red number 1 by it. I have an @ symbol on Teams, activity lit up. So there's no way to miss that now. So now if I go to project 1 here and I look, I can see where I'm @ mentioned because it's got a red circle next to it. Last thing here, guys, besides @ mentioning one person, you can @ mention the entire team. So if I say webinar training, I can do that. You can also @ mention just the channel. So if I start typing project 1, I can @ mention just people who have access to the channel. Okay? Cool. All right, let's talk about some of the newer features. I'll do one thing with files with you guys, and then I'll open it up to any other questions that you may have. But I want to show you or talk about a new feature here. You can add people to a team who are outside the organization. There was a problem with this, though, up until recently. The problem was if I add anybody to a team, so even if I add one person in my organization to webinar training, they then have unrestricted access to every channel. There's no way for me to control access by channel. Okay? If I invite somebody outside the company in here and they're working on project 1 with us, if I add them to webinar training, they have access to project 1, but they also have access to everything else. That's kind of a problem. Until now. Now you have the ability to make channels, and I'll show you. I'm going to create a new channel here. So in line with the team name, I'm clicking the 3 dots. Add a channel. When you add a channel now, you can make private channels. Standard is accessible by everyone on the team. Private is only accessible to a specific group of people within the team. So you can now have private channels, which is a brand spanking new feature of Teams. Okay, we've seen 2 new features that I did not expect to see today. That the mark as important button, and the so if you're in a team channel, guys, I guess this is where you don't. No, you do see it. It's right here. So that just marks it as important. But when we're in the private chat, it's the one that would allow you to constantly notify them. Anyways, guys, I'm going to stop talking about that. Let's just see where to figure this stuff out. At the top, guys, it says type or search, type a / or @ for a list of commands. You can also just type a word or phrase or name, and it'll find stuff for you. But let me show you this. When I type a /, it shows me a list of common commands. One of the commands I recommend you check out is /help. When you go to /help, it shows you all of the help information here for Teams. Here's topics, here's training videos, okay? And here's my favorite, what's new? October 25th. Okay, so that was the last one. Posted multiple channels. Get notified about when you miss it. Okay, so they don't have the private channels listed in here yet, which means they might have just added it this morning, which means by this afternoon, you should see a new thing in here that says November 7th. And it'll tell you that they just added in the private chat. Guys, this is awesome. So this is where you're going to go. And you can see they do about 2 updates a month. October 25th, October 4th, September 20th, September 13th, August 30, 26, 16. August was a busy month there. But you get the idea. So there's new stuff being added all the time. That's actually one of the fun things about teaching Teams is, you know, I don't know what to expect sometimes when I go in there. So it's kind of like I'm figuring out as we go. I know what kind of features are coming because you can look that up online. It's just kind of neat. So guys, don't be afraid of that search box at the top. Type some commands in there. You can figure out a lot of things. /help, what's new is my favorite. All right, everybody, let's talk about files real quick, get a file workflow, and then I will open it up to any other questions you have. Just to confirm, the session is being recorded, and we will get the link later. Correct. Yes, you will. What is that boat magic lamp looking thing next to the meme and calendar? Yeah, it is kind of like a magic lamp. I thought it was just like a mustache blowing in the wind. This is a thing called Mail Clark. It allows you to connect mail. So this is probably a little bit more advanced for us today, guys, but you can have a mailbox for a channel or a team, and then I can manage that mailbox through this Mail Clark app in a team. It's cool. It's an add-on. It's pretty easy to do. You just click here and go to more apps, and you can add on and explore that. Okay, so guys, you can check that out on your own. Don't do it in class right now, but if you click the 3 dots in line with chat, you can say more apps. It'll show you a bunch of different apps that you can add in. There's your Mail Clark. That's the one I just did. So email, Facebook, Twitter, the shared inbox for Teams. Easily engage your teammates in workflows. So you get the idea. You can figure that all out on your own. I'll show you another way that you can add this in, but there's a lot of different tools and apps that you can add into Teams. Usually we see that in a team channel up at the top. If you click the plus sign, this is where you can add in other apps that you might need as well. Some organizations lock you down, guys. I can't help you with that. Some organizations only allow you to put in the Microsoft ones, okay? Other organizations will open it up so you can add in really any other tool that you're looking for. CRM, Salesforce, Mail Clark, MailChimp, Adobe Cloud. Like there's just so much stuff that you can add in here. As a matter of fact, this long list we're looking at is the short list. If you go to Manage Apps, you'll see that screen we saw a second ago. No, those are the apps that are in. I clicked the wrong button. That's okay. We'll go back to General, plus sign. I meant to click onto More Apps right here. There we go. So that's that whole list here. There's bots you can add in that can do all sorts of different things and engage people, connectors to different tools, and so on. So you guys can learn that on your own. In Teams, if I add a file to a team channel, that file then becomes available to everybody who has access to that team and that channel. Okay? So it's essentially published. That's the way I like to talk about it in class. If you put a file in a Teams channel, you have published that file to your team. Okay? So let's talk about a workflow. I have a file that I need to create for our project 1. How do I do that? Well, what I would do is I would go to my OneDrive. And in my OneDrive, I would upload the file if I've already made it, or I would create it natively right here. So I'm going to make the file here. It'll be a Word document. I will call it Project 1 File. And then I'll click Create. Okay? It's created my Project 1 file. Here is and notice what happened, guys. It took me into Word in Teams. Again, it's one window. I don't have to switch to Word to work in Word. Okay? Oh, Word. Right. So it auto-saves because it's using the web app. So this is the web version of Word that is in the Teams interface, which is great. If you need to send it to the desktop app for whatever reason, there's a button right here to do so. You click that. It says launching Word. It takes you right into Word. Same thing happens. Your edits are auto-saved. When you're done, you can exit out. All right, I'm done here, so I'm going to go ahead and just click Close at the top. And now my Word document is created in my OneDrive. So now that it's in my OneDrive, I need people's help with it. I need Shannon's help with this, or I need Shannon and Ozzy's help with my file. Well, now we know that I can just go to chat, have my chat with Shannon and Ozzy, click the paperclip, attach a file from my OneDrive. Shows me all the files in my OneDrive. I just scroll down. There's tons of stuff in here. It was in the default folder. Documents, attachments, notes. It just takes an extra second here to load because I've got so much stuff in here. Project one file, I'm now going to share it. So now it's shared with Shannon and Ozzy and I, and we're able to go to files in our chat and work on it and collaborate. Now we're done. The file is perfect. It's ready to go. I want to take this file now and I want to move it to my team so that it's published. Okay? In the chat, really the only options you have is to open, get a link, and download a copy. If you go to the three dots here, I can edit and download and get a link. So I want to move this over to my team now. So I'm going to go back to my OneDrive, which is where the file actually is. Once I'm in my OneDrive, I'm going to find that file. It's in here. I should probably clean up my OneDrive. I know that's what you're thinking. All right, keep that to yourself. I know I need to. Anyways, when I select my file up at the top, open, copy link, download, delete, rename, open in OneDrive, move, or copy. I'm going to move it. Where would you like to move it, Dan? Well, thank you for asking, teams. I don't want to move it in my OneDrive to another folder. I want to move it to a team. Okay, which team? I want to move it to the webinar training team and the Project One file storage. Oops, there we go. All right, I'm ready to go. Move. And then Teams is going to take care of it for me. Okay, it's happening right now. It says one file has been moved. It just removed it from my OneDrive. And now when I go to Teams and I go to Project One and I go to Files, there it is. Okay, it's awesome, guys. So everything in, really, Office 365 has been great. I've been using it a long time. It's been great that I've been able to access my content and work on things whenever I need to. Teams really is the cherry on top at this point. It just brings it all together. It's the tool that we deserved for a long time, right? And now it's finally here. There is a ton more going on with Teams, guys. There's so much more that I could show you. We do have classes for Teams. Obviously, this is just kind of a quick taste, introducing you to some of the Teams concepts and getting you comfortable with the environment here. But there's a lot more. This is riding on all of Office 365. If we know a little bit about SharePoint, you might notice that my Teams channels file storage is telling me that I can open in SharePoint. So what does that mean for Teams? What does that mean for managing content within Teams? It actually means quite a bit. There's some amazing things you can do with that. All right, so there's tons more to learn about Teams. We do offer a standard Teams training. We do have a more advanced Teams training, which are absolutely worth it. If you enjoyed this webinar, I encourage you to at least explore the outlines for those classes and see if there's some things that might interest you, okay? As a matter of fact, I'm going to answer those questions here in just a second, guys. All right, everybody, we got about 3 minutes left. Some really great questions came through. Go ahead and type any additional questions you have in the chat box. I'd be happy to answer them for you. Don't forget about the special offer, guys. Like I said, there's a ton more to learn about Teams. We just kind of got a taste of it today of like the neat features, but there's so much more when you take a deeper dive into Teams. So if you do have additional questions, feel free to type them in the chat box. If you do not, you are free to go. Thank you all very much for attending our webinar today. Enjoy the rest of your day.